This is Steve.
Welcome to Talk Smack to the Preacher. That is the name of this website.
It is, yes.
We are coming to you today from the new offices of Journey Imperfect Faith Community, which you can see. We're in the midst of moving.
Yes.
And the topic we want to kick around today for your consideration and provocation and to get you to talk and discuss and react is what our faith community and other people that are out there talking about new monasticism and house church and alternative forms of church. One of the terms that they use is the downward path.
Okay. So is that as sinister as it sounds?
Could be.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. It's perfectly lovely. The idea of the downward path is that since Jesus talks over and over and over about letting go of, letting go of attachments,
sure,
in the same way that the Buddhist tradition talks about attachment being the real form of our suffering,
right?
Because we're attached to emotional outcome, physical outcome, how we want things to work out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and those things bring about anger, sadness, resentment, suffering.
Yeah.
That to free ourselves from those things becomes freedom. Jesus talks about the same things. And so there are a lot of people, this has always happened all throughout Christian history, whether it's the desert mothers and fathers who saw that the Roman church that the church was becoming Roman, and they said, well, to hell with this, we're going to the desert.
Right.
Or monastic movements throughout history that said, what if we just took a group of people and lived simply? And we came up with some guidelines for that. So the Benedictines and the Franciscans and all that stuff. For us, the embodiment right now as a faith community of the downward path is when our 5-year lease for our warehouse was about to be finished, we said, do we sign another 5-year lease? Do we that way have some security? Do we try and buy something so that we can feel even more secure?
Right.
Or do we even let go of that amount of security and see if there are other options that are out there that involve even less attachment? And
so we opted for the let's hold on to everything and buy a lot of stuff and plate it in gold, and
because that's the
way Journey works.
Well, that's the way of religion,
and that's the way religion works.
Let's build a big building and there's
I'm being facetious. Is that the right word? Okay.
Rude.
I'm sleepy. I apologize.
You're fine. You're doing fine.
Okay.
For some people, a building is what speaks to them, and that's part of our culture, and that's okay. So
nothing wrong with security per se.
Well, I mean, having a building is not a bad thing. It can be a nice thing. What we chose was to worship and have our classes and things in the former fellowship hall of a lovely church, which is now owned by a nonprofit school, private school here in Austin, and to pay them a small fee, and then this beautiful church that's next door to that school. We are officing in one of their offices, and we're having Sunday school in their children's wing, and for our children, and we're paying them a small fee to do that. And the rest of the time, we went through over a month of purging stuff,
selling things, giving things away. Yeah, because their stuff can own you.
Well, I mean,
Christians are not immune to that. That's true.
That was awesome. That was awesome. So then it is a real question, not just for the church, but I mean, as far as Jesus is concerned, and he talks about it all the time, it's a real question for individual people as well, not just collectively, but individually. And you can see the beginning church in Acts trying to figure this out. If we share our stuff and we worship in each other's houses and we worship in the temple collectively, I mean, what would that look like if we just let stuff go?
Well, it's interesting because so many Christians don't really pay attention to what happened to the church after Christ left. There's not a lot of discussion, as we've talked about before, about what happened to the church in between when Jesus left and came back, and then there's even less discussion, I would say, although it's very clearly there in many ways, maybe not in excruciating detail, but there's a lot of information in there.
The thing that we talked about in one of the other videos about, is this Paul talking? Is this, are these pastoral letters?
Right.
I mean, is this first generation stuff? Is this second generation stuff? Is the church trying to get organized? Is it trying to come up with some sort of hierarchy so that people can make decisions and there's some sense of centralized authority?
Right.
It's a tough call because it's nice to have an office.
Sure.
It's nice to have a building. But for us, I think that our choice to go downward in the sense of our culture is a culture that says more,
Acquire,
up,
keep
acquire.
getting bigger.
Yeah, bigger is better. And Jesus doesn't really seem to have any interest in that.
Yeah.
So this is an experiment in letting go and just being in a space. Jesus said when he sent all those people out in pairs, go where they welcome you and stay as long as you're allowed to stay there and eat what they serve you and then go to the next place.
Yeah, I think one thing that a lot of Christians don't think about, and I didn't until I got to a point where I was really examining everything, is that the church doesn't have to be huge or complex to be legitimate. Remember there was a service recently with Gordon Atkinson where he was talking about simplicity of church and you don't have to have a huge member and growing isn't the most important thing, and he said Jesus only had a few hundred people following him and he was Jesus. So, I mean, it really does underscore, and I think this is healthy for this faith community, and I think it actually can be a very positive thing in Christianity in general. And then in the term, from the perspective of faith in general, everybody's faith, regardless of what you believe, it seems to me that if you overcomplicate with guilt and fear and judgment and all these other things that seem important but they're really not, it just complicates your faith. It doesn't make it any better.
But you may not agree with that.
That's my opinion. So
and he's probably wrong, as usual.
Wrong. So if you have a different perspective,
weigh in on it. We want to
jump
talk
in.
about
We'd
it.
love to hear from you because everybody has a legitimate perspective. Everybody is learning from different perspectives and different facets of the same.
I don't know that everybody has a legitimate perspective. Okay, we still want to know. Let's talk about it.
Yes, please contribute.
Yeah. All right.
I'm just too sleepy.
You're
I'll
fine.
be more
You're
awake
fine.
next time.
You're fine. All right. Have a good day. See you.
See you next time.